Well, hello and welcome to Living and Active. Welcome to the introductory video to the new playlist, Rolling Towards Eternity. I've been thinking for a few months about launching what used to be its own channel as a playlist, as a series. I mentioned it about a week or so ago in the post tab of this channel, so now I'm gonna do it. Um, So, rolling towards eternity, obviously, it's going to have something to do with wheelchairs, and it's going to have something to do with being in a wheelchair and looking forward to eternity. How do we handle the day to day of being disabled, of living in the realities that we have, and doing so in a way that champions the things of God, proclaims and glorifies His name, and doesn't get us so distracted in things like advocacy, where we are an ineffective witness for the Lord. And as I'm getting more and more into working with other organizations that have been made or whatever for disabled people, I'm starting to see more and more that the organizations have lost their own plot. Things that were once started, as I'm sure happens to every good idea, things that were initiated to help other people became enamored with their success and their initial support and shifted their focus from finding, getting into relationships with, and directly helping individual people that needed help and support and encouragement. And their focus turned 100% into growing the organization, operating it like a business, and making everyone that gets involved or even lightly connected, to add the anxiety of the stakeholders uh, to their own very, very busy lives and realities. I've been in contact recently with two very specific organizations. I'm not going to name them, but I've had to very early set the boundaries clearly that I'm not going to join them in wasting time and everything else trying to get people to add to the burdens they already have in order to help the organization thrive, grow, and expand as an organization. I don't believe that's helpful, and I believe that the end road for every single venture that does this ends up in some sort of um, basically turns into a giant um, tiered marketing thing where uh, you have to get involved with all of these businesses and submit these forms and go through and just raise money for the organization. You spend all your time doing that, and no actual people get helped. I'm not going to be involved in that. I won't be. And I've told two organizations this so far this summer. I might have to tell more organizations this sometime this summer. What my intention is to actually reach. I'm looking at my TV over here. I'm not like just staring off so you guys get an awesome shot of my profile. There's actually a screensaver playing on my Roku that's kind of interesting. So, because I am an actual person and I'm not trying to present myself as if I'm talking directly to anybody here, because one of the things that needs to stop happening is us believing that we're only allowed to live our lives socially through a screen. I don't have Facebook. I don't have the YouTube is the only social media platform that I even engage with, and that's rarely by comparison, um, relatively speaking, compared to other channels. But I've been invited to take part in online regular group meetings, peer mentoring sessions, and things like that. I don't like them, and I have uh, said that that's not going to be the extent of my engagement with the people that I want to reach in love for their benefit and for the glory of Christ. So I think if that particular venture continues to insist on doing everything through video chat and no direct communication or face to face meetings or anything else like that, I'm just going to let them play their games and carry on without them, um, because it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time, and it's always an agenda, and it's always on a strict schedule. And once the time runs out, then people don't exist. You push a button, and they disappear from your thoughts, from your awareness, and nothing gets accomplished other than some words being said and written down somewhere else. So, because we are people, because we are the pinnacle of God's creation, made in His image, with eternity in mind for His purposes, because He wants us with Him for eternity, and because here in this life we suffer, we struggle, we strive to get through things, temptations and trials that are common to all men, and for many of us, some things that are not common to all men, women, children. Um, then we need to continue to interact with each other as humans, not as entities, not as um, agencies, not as corporate constructs, as humans, as image bearers of the sovereign of the universe. And we are to take great care and pains with one another and be of great benefit to one another, mutually supporting, encouraging, uplifting, aiding when necessary. And there's a lot to be said about the fact that Jesus had a lot to say about when you go to present yourself as someone that is there to help others, not to create a greater burden for them, not to lead people into wasting their time, their energy, their resources, whatever, not taking advantage of their um, naivety when it comes to, well, you do want to help people, right? Then you have to do it this way. Um, and if it puts you in a place where your already burdensome existence becomes untenable, that's not our problem. That's your sacrifice for wanting to help others. And it's malarkey. It doesn't exist anywhere in Scripture that that has to happen. Yes, the Bible says that greater love has no man than this, that he lay down his life for his friend. But very few circumstances in helping or disabled people helping other disabled people to learn how to be disabled and do it well have any outcome which would require anyone laying down their life or their livelihood. Um, that's actually the goal of all of these efforts, supposedly, is to prevent more loss, to uh, move away from creating even bigger barriers to these things that are supposedly um, knocking down barriers to access to things like um, outdoors recreation or whatever. Um, or other organizations are set up like trade unions or labor unions, sorry. And being a former member of three labor unions, I'm very confident that I do not want to approach anybody with that level of membership slash loyalty slash whatever um, pressure to an organization where they're just grinding themselves away, constantly giving and giving and giving and giving and giving, and paying out more and more and more and more and more and more for the privilege of protection. That's called extortion. I don't know why it was ever made legal for insurance companies, labor unions. Who else does it? Oh, the taxation system. I could go on and on. But things that people were running around in cars and shooting at each other, very cool cars, by the way, and shooting each other for in the 20s. The reasons the FBI was put together is all being done day to day all over the country legally under the protection of, well, this is just how we do things. And it amazes me, things that would have been uh, in the 20s and 30s seen as deep fraud and predatory are now just what we have to do to get by it. I am a conscientious objector to continuing these kinds of things, especially when it comes to programs, agencies, entities that are supposedly meant to help, to relieve burdens, to remove barriers, and all of these cool little catchphrases that people like to say once they get involved in these things. So I'm not going to do that. These videos are going to be hopefully informative, sharing information, inviting comments that um, viewers can use to share their own experiences, ask questions, answer questions, talk to each other, especially in the community tab, the posts tab. I really wish they changed the name of it back to community tab. Anyway, yeah, as every other effort of this channel clearly states, we do not have much time. So I do not want to engage in wasting any time or wasting anybody else's time with anything that is not actively helping um, or blessing other people. So that's the thing. Yeah, so the involvement, for me personally, involvement in these organizations whose attention I've gotten trying to ask questions and do some fact finding, if it takes away from bringing the hope of the gospel to people who don't have it, or to lifting up from the word brothers and sisters who have fallen into despair because of their situation, then I'm not going to be engaged in those activities. I don't know if they've gotten the memo yet, but I've tried to clearly speak these things. There's one in particular that I don't think is getting the message, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, yeah, this is the introduction. This is going to be called Rolling Towards Eternity. Encouragements, tips, um, scriptural application, and the ever present reminders of the faithfulness of God to His Word, His character, and His promises. So, thanks for watching. I'm going to go grab my soup off of the stove. I'm going to come back here to, by the way, I don't think you guys have, well, you guys have seen other videos on this channel shot in this room, but not in this setup. So, welcome everybody to not only this new series, but also to my new, let's do the slow spin here, to my new, very cool professional level camera work and sewing room and sewing machine repair room, which is very nice. I'm very grateful to the Lord for this space, as always, and for the guidance and the wisdom that He keeps giving me. Let's put this back on the way it was. There we go. And the insights that He gives, because it's all of this is very hard work. Most of it is done just me by myself, with my failing body and half a hands. So even the process of moving stuff around or whatever else, getting things in place, it's very long, drawn out, very tiring, but I do it so that most efficient and effective use of my space can be had, and I can get to things like designing adaptive clothing or making adaptations to existing clothing for people, so that um, they can dress fairly well, not needlessly so, but they can still not feel like um, that they're supposed to wear t-shirts and sweatpants all the time, if they don't want to. In fact, Friday I have an appointment. I'm going to go to a seamstress, tailor type person, and I'm actually going to have my measurements done and recorded for me so that I can start making, developing patterns and everything else. And I'm going to get with this professional because she has regular clients of hers that are in wheelchairs, and so she's used to taking measurements for someone in a wheelchair. So I'm going to actually pick her brain, if I can, while I'm there getting my own measurements for how to measure people in wheelchairs for the different cuts and everything that needs to be made to um, to allow their clothes to actually do more of what clothes are supposed to do, which is cover and uh, and protect and all these other things. So that will be an experience. That might be a post. No, I don't know. But yeah, so that's the introduction. I'm hungry, I'm tired, and I hurt everywhere. So I will. It's not a bad day. It's not anywhere close to like the worst days that I have, but still, I'm very aware of my level of discomfort at this point in time, especially since I'm sitting in a desk chair, not my wheelchair, as you can tell by my own level of movement through the frame. But anyway, I will see you in the next video, if there is one. There might not be. But until then, God be with you.